Hey there, what is going on? I hope you guys are having a good day. Welcome back to the GR8 podcast. We're actually coming up on 30 episodes of my podcast. Can you guys believe it? 30 episodes later, man, we have two monthly listeners. This is awesome. Well, nonetheless, thank you guys for tuning in and helping me out and just listening to my voice. So, honestly, today we're going to get right into it. The NBA Finals. Can you guys believe it? We're 2 games in, series tied. The Nuggets win the first game, the Heat win the second game. Both games were in Denver. It looks like the height advantage, literally for the Denver Nuggets wasn't that big of a deal for the Heat. They kept it close in the first one, although the Nuggets had pretty much full control over the game for the most part. And in the second game, the Heat win. The Heat had control of the game, obviously, for the whole game, but if you watched it. But the Nuggets, every now and then, would come up, have a couple runs, get up by a few, much as like 10, 15. Same thing with the Heat. And then how it's been kind of for like the entire NBA playoffs, especially for closer teams, especially for the Heat, going in so many down to game sevens. A lot of these games are only coming down to the last like 3 minutes. And that's so interesting because why do we sit through almost 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours of basketball just for it to only matter at the end of the game? It's almost like this is kind of psychology here. This is maybe not even a game two reaction. Game two of the NBA Finals is probably just a segue for me to just talk about this because I've been so disingenuous with the finals. Like, I don't care about the Heat or the Nuggets. I'm sure Miami is just going crazy down in South Beach, and I'm sure the Nuggets are, down in Denver. People are excited too. The Heater or the Nuggets, both of the fans of either team, I'm sure, are very, very excited. But outside of that, who cares? Like, who cares? You have to be such a big fan of the Nuggets or the Heat to care a lot. And something that just came up in my head. And obviously, this was probably just going to be a rant of I would love to just see the final ratings of these games. But I'm thinking about how much foreign players. And I was actually thinking about this last night because they had actually a really cool segment. And I don't think, what is it, on ESPN or ABC or whatever? I don't even remember what these final games are on. But they don't treat it like the finals. And two, I don't know about their production, but their production, like video, live TV production, actually was cool last night. I didn't notice something like this in the first game. And the thing that I want to talk about is Nikola Jokic in Serbia and his influence of basketball in Serbia. Now, I don't remember every single second of like their little tribute or like little section of what they were talking about, but what they did was, I think it was during a timeout or during one of the halves or something, or during in between quarters, what they did was zoom out. They had a graphic, it was zoomed out and went all the way to Serbia, next to Russia, over in Europe, Asia area of the world, and they went all the way down to where Nikola Jokic, his hometown, and they showed his influence there. They have murals of Nikola Jokic with his Nuggets jersey all over the buildings, all over the walls. It's crazy. And then they actually have multiple basketball courts dedicated to him. In fact, I think it was a school. I couldn't really understand what they were trying to go. I think it was a school or like a rec area. It was kind of like their local like YMCA or something, named something different, but it was all dedicated to Nikola Jokic, literally naming the school or the area or the building after Nikola Jokic. I thought that's so cool. That's cool in of itself, obviously. But I think that's so cool that the NBA actually like zoomed out and said, because of our foreign players, we have more of an influence around the world, which again started me thinking. We talked about, like, we've been talking about like a lot of the NBA expansion teams, Seattle. I mean, they already had a team in Seattle, Seattle, Kansas City, other places like, or Jacksonville, Richmond, Richmond, Virginia. That'd be kind of cool. But why don't they look to Europe? Why don't they look to Asia? Why don't they look to South America? Because the more players that you have on your team that are foreign, the more teams that you have that are from different countries, the more players on your team that speak different languages because of certain reasons, that expands the reach for the NBA. And I thought it was very, very cool that the NBA looked at Nikola Jokic and said, we have fans of him, and I guess by extension the NBA in Serbia. In Serbia, is it Russia? Is that part of Russia? I don't even know. We have fans literally across the world, not even just like because of the NBA is like a long-standing franchise sports league or whatever, but because of one guy, because he came here. So now those people are part of his hometown, and maybe Serbia, a country as a whole, or wherever he's from, I think it's from Serbia, they tune in to the NBA Finals. They're tuning into the NBA for more of a reason than just entertainment. They think this is brotherhood now. This is family. They're watching somebody that grew up with them watch like on TV. And I just never thought of it like that. So watching the Heat Nuggets, watching these NBA Finals, and I'm just so not interested in it. I am interested in it. I like Nikola Jokic and I like Jimmy Butler, but all these like different statistics and different game plans and whatnot, Eric Spoelstra and Mike Brown and chess matches or whatever, all that is very, very interesting, 100%. But what really caught my eye was this. After the insane comeback by the Heat and the Nuggets, respectively, even after Jamal Murray hitting this insane three, coming down the court with only 11 seconds left, they don't call timeout. Eric Spoelstra and the Heat don't foul. Jamal Murray does this sidestep fadeaway three, which is actually a pretty good look at the end of the game in the finals. And I was still thinking about this broadcast segment. It was so interesting. Why is this just so interesting? Because it just adds we literally could see a team in Serbia or something along those lines specifically because of one good player. It starts making me think like Luka Doncic. He's from Slovenia or something like that. That's out in Europe too. Why don't we put a team there? Why don't we put some influences there? Why doesn't the NBA, have the NBA Care or whatever? NBA Cares. I don't know what it's really for. I think it's for inner city kids, less developed neighborhoods, whatever. Giving money and building basketball courts and trying to, give them charity or whatnot. I think that would be so cool if they went. I don't know if they do this, all around. I don't even know if they do this, and I'm just talking about it because I don't know. But it would be so cool if we learned more about what the NBA is doing outside of the U.S. They have one team that's international. It's the Toronto Raptors, and they're Toronto is like the easiest city to get to in Canada. Why doesn't the NBA start looking at Serbia? Why doesn't the NBA start looking at Slovenia? I'm trying to think a Giannis in Greece. That would be a perfect place to put an NBA team. Obviously, logistics, whatnot, coming to and from flights, that would be just awful. But what if the NBA had a Euro League? And there is a Euro League in Europe. I get that. But what if the NBA bought it and started making okay, what if this happened? What if this player came over here? What if we moved players? What if they made the Euro League their own D League? Or was it now a G League? What if the G League became the Euro League? Or what if they mixed? Or something along those lines. I don't really want the NBA to own all of basketball. I think that would be very, very bad. And I'm glad that we have FIBA and the Euro League and other things like that. But I'm just thinking just get your head turning, get your mind going. What kind of impact are these foreign players having on the NBA as a whole? I don't think the NFL has much as a percentage of foreign players than the NBA. I really don't know. It's American football, so mostly Americans, but I would love to see over the last 10, 15 years how much the NBA has grown internationally, and then the percentages of foreign players as to American domestic players or something along those lines. I know a couple big Tony Kukoc, back in the Bulls in the 90s, and Manu Ginobili, great player. All those types of things, but I don't think I've ever seen a broadcast. I don't think I've ever seen a segment literally focus on one town in Serbia because of a guy that's so popular, like Nikola Jokic. They're like, look at this. Look, we got this guy from here. Why don't they do some homegrown talent in the NBA and say, we'll give you $1 million in this town, in this city, in this country, and we develop players from there. It's kind of like almost maybe like a college. What if the NBA started putting NBA colleges or something like that? I'm just spitballing here. I have no idea the logistics or anything like that and anything of that nature, but I'm just saying some of this stuff could be really cool. I was just so interested and still thinking in my head that this one Serbian segment on the TV production, I think it was between the third and fourth quarter, that was like, whoa, hold on. They're right. It was kind of like that the meme from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Leonardo DiCaprio sits up from his chair and he's like, whoa, and he starts snapping his fingers at the TV. It's like, whoa, that's cool. Wait a second, that's cool. I haven't seen something like that before. I think of back at Liberty in some of my digital media classes, we would always come back and say, okay, what did you watch this month? What did you watch this week? What did you watch yesterday? And, a couple of us would say, we watched a movie, we watched a TV show. And in one of my sports production classes, we talked about what sports have you been watching? What something live have you been watching? And how did you, how was the production? How did it affect you? How did it affect the rest, of the whatever was going on? And this is something that I would say, this is something that I would raise my hand and say, you know what, the NBA actually did a good job for once on the production side, rather than cameramen getting hit and random weird slow-mos of people walking and weird shoe, why do they have just a close-up of somebody's shoes or something? They're not even cool shoes, they're just just the bench players just taking them off or something. They do stuff like that all the time. It was just interesting for them to go out of their comfort zone and focus on Nikola Jokic, where he's from, why, how his come up has started, and what his impact has been in just this little town of Serbia. So interesting. I loved it. This episode was actually supposed to be about Game 1 and Game 2 of the NBA Finals, but I can't really say anything else that hasn't been said already. The Nuggets won, then the Heat won, and we got ourselves a series. I can definitely tell you that. However, something like this, influence in basketball around the world, almost means more than the champion of the 2023 NBA Finals. There's just going to be another year of who's going to win it this year and whatnot. And I just think something like this means a lot. Foreign international players mean a lot to the people of the countries and towns and cities where they're from in the rest of the world. They mean a lot. They mean a lot. When is the last time I watched? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't even know what I would say. When's the last time I watched an MLS player play in the Premier League? Simply because of just being from. When's the last time I watched Christian Pulisic, whatever his last name is? I can't even tell you what his last name was. Over in the Premier League. When's the last time I watched him there? Simply because he's from here. I can't. I just think it's interesting. The NBA are sitting on a gold mine of opportunity for potential fans, the capital swayed merchandise, ticket sales, money. But you're also looking at more players. What if you invest in players? What if you invest in the talent of the players over? You saw Giannis and all three of his brothers. It's just like a family of Greek gods all in the NBA. And, Giannis is he's literally called the Greek Freak, and it's just insane that he's from Greece. And you look at him and he's just a monster. How many other physical monsters are there in Greece? How many other physical monsters are there in Serbia? How many high-level scorers that have been playing professional basketball since they were 14, like Luka Doncic, out there in Slovenia? I still think, I don't know if he's still from Slovenia, but he's somewhere. I think of this sort of idea as just so cool. I loved it. I loved the little broadcast segment. This is definitely something I'll raise my hand in class and say this was cool. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching, having fun with me. This is about 15 minutes of just me rambling on about this weird little small I still don't know. Is it ESPN or I'm not going to look it up. Whatever. I'm glad that you guys, hopefully you guys have this same like cool idea. What if, this is just all me what ifing pretty much. But thank you guys for having fun and what ifing with me. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next podcast episode or YouTube video. Thank you.